Brazil was your first trip outside the U.S.? Or what was the
Bro,
first
Brazil,
trip?
I was 30, I was 33. It's 10 years ago, bro. I was
Mm-hmm.
33. And I never left the United States not to go to nowhere. I never left the United States to go to Mexico, Jamaica, none of that.
Mm-hmm.
I left and that was it. Brazil was my first I bought a plane ticket. And the other thing is, in order for me to get to Brazil, I had to work. I had like a consulting business.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
So I had to, I did that and started that on my own.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a heavy transition, man.
So then basically that's what you talked about here. What's so taking that leap, what's missing in our understanding about travel as Black men in African diaspora that you can relate to and that you've been able to synthesize now, many years later, after taking these jumps about the personal
Mm.
development and all of that?
Yeah, I think, and I mentioned even in the forward that I sent to you, when I'm making videos or writing, I'm not pontificating and talk about how great I am. It's just I'm sharing my
Mm-hmm.
experience to get the dialogue going, and then also to emphasize that I think brothers will get a much more rewarding experience by staying in a place
Okay.
versus going to a hotel for a week and coming back home. Some brother may be listening to this and they love Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and
Mm-hmm.
one of the best teachers is in Ipanema or is in a favela in Brazil. Go stay with that dude for 3 months, and by by pointing in that direction, things will happen. I've told people like, like you'll take a class in Portuguese, and then there'll be a girl at the class, and then she's gonna be like, "Oh, my uncle lives in Ipanema,"
Mm-hmm.
and then he's like, "Yeah, you can come stay with him for a month," and so doors will open up as you mentally say, "I want to do this," and what I didn't realize, and I mentioned this in the book bio, had I really stayed focused early on and really started using my mental faculties to
Mm.
manifest, I probably it wouldn't have taken me 7 years. It would have probably taken me 2 years.
And by the way, those are these synchronicities are part of the African family, friend, and community
Yeah.
experience, the
Yes.
village idea. And a lot
Good
of
point.
Brazilians have talked about this. Like,
Mm,
once they realized how they grew up and they looked at Africa, they're like, wait a minute, this is where I got
mm,
these things from.
wow.
Now
Good
tell
point.
us a little bit about, you referenced the book and dedicated it to Bakari Henderson. And every Black
Yeah.
man daring to
That's
break
a.
free. We've had a lot of names this year and in the past
Mm.
decades of Black people that have died to police brutality, violence, and so forth and so on. Why is this particular name important regarding outside of the U.S. travel
Well,
for
this
Black
yeah,
men?
this is a young brother who went down to Greece,
Mm-hmm.
and he was chilling. He was chilling in a bar, and I'm just summarizing this
Sure,
story.
yeah.
It's horrific. He was chilling in a bar, and a European lady wants to. She initiated contact with him. She was like, "Hey, I want to take a picture with you."
Mm-hmm.
One of the guys that was in the bar started hating, and he initiated violence with Bakari. Bakari responded, and there was an element outside where Bakari was kind of like, he was upset. Somebody just assaulted him, and
Mm-hmm.
he had a right to be upset. And unfortunately, man, he got chased and he got beat by
Mm.
like a group of guys. There were like 7, 8 guys that were beating on him, and he died.
Mm.
And
That's
I
horrible.
don't. It's horrible. So there's so many elements around that story that make me feel bad because that could have been me several times in Asia.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like when racism rears its head, like I mentioned this in the book, but it's unfortunate that he was by himself. He was with some quote unquote friends.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do anything at the moment, and then later
Mm-hmm.
on, when they had a chance to testify, some of them were like, "Well, I don't want to testify." They wouldn't even testify.
Mm.
So it's like because they were worried about some guy in another country. And I just,
Yeah,
it's such
and
a
this
sad
brings
thing that
this. I
happened.
I remember was it last year or a couple years ago the ASAP Rocky situation in was
Mm.
it what was that at Sweden?
Yeah,
Sweden,
Sweden.
Sweden. Yeah, you remember
He
that?
didn't initiate. Yeah, he didn't
Yeah, you know what
initiate
I
that.
mean. And it's like
Guy was,
yeah,
yeah,
guy
a guy was
was
chasing him.
yeah
There's a
harassing and
brother. There's a brother named Wendell Brown, or Wendell Davis, a
mm-hmm,
football player. He went to China to teach football, and so he got into some kind of scuffle with a guy at a bar or whatever, and wound up doing 2 years in China.
mm-hmm,
And his mother contacted me because she saw
mm,
my videos online, and I helped her, understand stuff about the whole experience of being in prison. Because
wow,
I talk about this in my book,
right.
and my journey to Hong Kong. I wound up going to prison for 6 months. So there's a lot of context I give about the journey, things we should and should not do. Because one of the things I admire about brothers from Africa, when they go out, especially in Asia,
Mm-hmm,
they never go out alone. They never
mm,
go out alone.
mm-hmm.
They go out deep. If you see a brother from Gambia, he's gonna have like five. He's gonna have
Yeah.
5 or 6 his boys with him. For some reason, and I'm not trying to talk shit about Black Americans, but I think sometimes we like going rogue. Like we watch too many movies, and it's
Mm.
like
Well, that's
if we're
interesting.
in a place where
Yeah.
there aren't, yeah,
No, go ahead, go
if
ahead,
we're in
go
a
ahead.
place where
Finish
there
that point.
aren't, I no, I just want to finish it. If we're in a place where there aren't many Africans, you should definitely be mindful of where you are, and whether or not somebody's gonna have your back.
This is what I was going to add to that was okay. The American mindset of rugged individualism, of dog eat dog capitalism, of get rich or die trying. You know what I mean?
Good points. Yeah.
These motifs, these ideas that black men carry around in the United States. Sometimes, like you've seen the video or the photo they have online of a gun of a police officer pointed to one side of the head. The black man is pointing the other gun at the other side of the head. So this makes a lot of black men isolated, feeling like, okay, I got some money, I'm going to travel, but I don't trust anybody, so I'm just going to go by myself. But this is the thing,
Yeah.
you talk about that, like America classifies you as a black man, right?
Mhm.
And you've lived in 7 countries. I'll go through a list of them here that included China for 13 months, Taiwan for 3 months, Cambodia for 15 months, Vietnam for 10 months, Hong Kong for a year, Brazil was 6 months. And in that process, did you ever have a posse, so to say, of brothers that could be there with you to do anything with and support you, right? See, this is
Never
something
like
that
it.
we have to understand, And I was even,
Well,
fortunate here to make friends with,
yeah,
people here in Brazil before I came here. Just even if it's just, your martial arts brothers that you're training with, and even if they're not all black, but like they have some common interest in you that's
yeah,
other than you just meeting people out in a new country. You know what I mean? That you don't speak the language.
no,
I think that's incredibly
yeah,
serious and
no.
important.
It's
Yeah.
tremendously important. Absolutely. Um,
Yeah.
it. I don't think you would need it as much in Brazil or any place where there are other African people, I should say.
Okay. Okay. Right. That's
It's
true.
not
That's
like
true.
if you go to Brazil, as long as you stay away from like tourist areas, pretty much nobody will know you're Brazilian. I mean,
Yeah,
nobody know
yeah.
you're
Like
a
if
foreigner.
you're not flashing, you just you
Yeah,
look
just
like everybody
no.
else. Yeah,
You
yeah.
look like everybody else. You'll blend in. I'm talking about places like Europe, Asia,
Okay.
any travel, any place you travel to, and there aren't any Africans there. Be
Mm-hmm.
mindful. That's something I get into in the book as well. But like I
Yeah.
said, and I even talk about this in the book. The brothers from the continent, I feel they're better travelers because they
Mm.
don't have that American mentality. You say, and you're right, because when I first went down to Brazil, I had this mentality that I'm gonna go ahead and start a consulting business when I get down there. And I'll never forget, there was this gay dude I met on couch surfing. He was real cool, and I just talked to him about a few months ago while writing the book, because I even
Mm-hmm.
have his original email. He said, "Clarke, if you come down here with that American mentality, you're going to wind up going back home with your tail between your legs. And that's exactly what happened in Brazil. That's
So
exactly what
yeah,
happened.
I've heard this from a lot of other people. The culture